Making a good dish of macaroni and cheese is all about making a good cheese sauce. A good cheese sauce starts with knowing how to make a simple bechamel sauce. Like many simple sauces, a bechamel sauce starts with making a roux. To put it on simple terms, a bechamel sauce is milk and garlic thickened into a stable sauce. Because of the simplicity of the flavors involved, this basic sauce can be turned into a large number of different dishes, soups, and sauces. For example, take the sauce and mix in sausage fat instead of butter into the roux and crumbled sausage, and you have sawmill gravy. Add into the sauce shredded Parmesan, and you have a basic Alfredo sauce. Melt into the basic sauce shredded cheddar cheese, and you have a classic cheddar cheese sauce.
Let's take a moment to talk about cheese. While any cheese can be used to make a cheese sauce, the best cheese for the job is plain old ordinary cheddar. What I am going to use for this dish is a mix of cheeses, namely cheddar and Colby-Jack cheeses 50-50.
There is something else I'd like to cover. Let's talk about Parmesan cheese. No, I don't mean the stuff you find in the little green can. While it does have its uses, shaking on pizza mainly, I'm talking about Parmesan cheese, the stuff you get in these little blocks here. Nothing really compares with taking the effort to get a block of Parmesan and shredding it yourself. While any of these blocks here are good, if you can find it, this is what you want. This is Parmesan Reggiano, the real stuff from the Parme region of northern Italy. This stuff is worth its weight in gold. It usually costs that much too. Luckily, it doesn't take much to do the job, as its flavor is what you might say dialed up to 11. A little of this goes a long way. Once you've had some of this, you don't want to ever go back to that stuff in the can. If you can't find this at your local supermarket, that's fine. Any of these blocks over here will be just as good, as they tend to be readily available. Any of these are worth keeping in a constant supply in your refrigerator.
Let's talk about macaroni now. Most of you will instantly think of macaroni and those elbow noodles. Well, this is a long-time effort of marketing. They've succeeded, because most of the packages are labeled with elbow noodles is just macaroni. On a much deeper level, macaroni is really the term that refers to the dough that the pasta is made with. So, when a pasta is made using durum wheat flour and water to make the dough is called semolina. That semolina dough is then used to make lots of different shapes of pasta, such as elbow noodles. This actually gives you many more choices than you might have thought. Oh, and by the way, spaghetti and linguine are also macaroni. What you want to find in a pasta for this type of dish is something that will hold onto the sauce and keep it in place so that in each bite you get a respectable amount of sauce, but not too much, with each noodle. For our purposes, we are going to focus on shells, elbows, and rotini. All of these pasta shapes are easy to find and all have nice feature. They have lots of little surfaces to hold on to the cheese sauce that we will make. Now, if you can find it, there is another option that's really the best type for this type of dish. It's called radiatore. Why? Well, because it has lots of little nooks and crannies, tons of surface area to hold on to the delicious sauce. One other fun little option that kids will love is rotelli. Why, you ask? It's simple. They look like little wagon wheels, and kids just love those kind of shapes.
Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. First thing I'd like to get across is the more water you use to cook the pasta in, the faster and more evenly it will cook, and it will also keep the noodles from sticking together. In a large cooking pot, and I do mean large, as it needs to be able to hold at least a gallon of water with room to spare for both headroom and the pasta itself, bring 1 gallon of water to a rolling boil. Into the water, dissolve 1 teaspoon of salt. What, too much, you say? I guess we might need to make a small diversion to talk about salt and its use in cooking. Salt is not evil. In fact, it's essential in cooking, as it regulates how cooking happens by increasing and lowering the temperature at which water boils or freezes at, limits bacterial actions, slows the growth of things such as yeast, and is what makes pickles possible. What you need to keep in mind when putting salt into water that you're cooking pasta or other high-starch foods like potatoes is that the food itself is only going to take in the amount of salt that it needs. So technically you add to a pot of water that you're cooking pasta in as much salt as you want until it stops dissolving, as the pasta itself is only going to take in the amount that it needs, leaving the rest in the water. On a practical level, 1 teaspoon of salt is about all the amount that is needed for cooking pasta in. Salt is bad for you, is what you want to try and cry out now. It's better to just leave it out, and the food will be healthier in the long run. Well, let's cover this. If you are making the effort to actually cook your own pasta, rather than eating pre-made foods, you are already on your way to eating a reasonable level of salt in your diet already. Please allow me to illustrate. The brand of this really doesn't matter. The point I want to make is how much salt is included inside these convenient pre-made meals. You see here, this meal is 1 serving, and in that serving there is 1920 milligrams of sodium included inside it. I realize this number is a bit hard to visualize, so I'll use this salt here to make that visible. This here is 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, using a scale, I have measured out 1900 milligrams of salt approximately. As you can see from these 2 little bowls, they are about the same amount. Do you understand what I'm talking about now? When adding salt to a food while cooking, you're typically going to be doing it about a pinch at a time. Not even noticeable, is it? Even more if something is cooked properly, adding more salt at the dinner table will usually not be required. If there is anything I think people should learn is how food with an appropriate level of salt tastes, rather than the elevated amounts that foods like this have trained us to like.